welcome to Slapshot Smack Talk. Rolls off the tongue nicely, doesn't it? It's a brand new hockey podcast, ice hockey, that is, for both sides of the pond, the frozen pond, that is. See what I did there? Where is, basically we just talk smack about hockey. Here we go. I am a Canadian, by the way, if you can't tell. And one thing that annoys me as a Canadian is Americans who think they know more hockey than me. However, what annoys me even more is when a British guy thinks he knows more hockey than me, and that British guy is Stephen Edwards right there.
Hey, I'm not going to say I know more than you, but I think my team has got a better chance of winning the cup this year.
Well, here we go. So now we're going to go for the Avs Montreal ranting already right from the get-go. No, we're not going to do that right now. We're going to do that later on. For those who don't know, I used to produce an ice hockey show, a hockey show, the NHL show here in the United Kingdom on Channel 5. Some of you might remember me also as the idiot who was a producer on the baseball show on Channel 5 years ago. So here I am, reduced myself to a podcast. But it needs to be done because the hockey season starts imminently, doesn't it, Stephen?
Yeah, it's not far away now, and there's not been much of a break between last season and this season, so it's coming thick and fast, and we're going to get into everything that you need to know about this upcoming season.
And here's the thing, this is the 2020 to 21 season, when in reality, let's face it, it's the 21 season, right? We haven't had any games in 2020 of this season. The NBA has already started before the NHL has. NFL pretty much started on time. We'll see how this season goes. But before we get into the nitty gritty, I got a trivia. I'm going to do my trivia and test your knowledge here, Stephen Edwards. My question to you is, because we had the World Junior Championships recently, and much to my chagrin, I had to see Canada lose to the United States of America. I'll give the U.S. their dues. Canada dominated the entire tournament, but they got the better of Canada in the end, in the final, and won 2-0 to win the gold medal in the World Junior Championships. Well done, USA. We'll see you next year. But my question to you is, which of the following three nations has never medaled in the World Junior Championships ever? Like, not got a single medal, whether it's bronze or of any color. All right. Is it A, Slovakia? Is it B, Switzerland? Or is it C, Germany? Now, I'm not talking about Olympic hockey or World Championship. I'm talking about the World Junior Championships. Which of those three nations has never medaled ever in the World Junior Championships? Now, when I say Slovakia, I'm not including Czechoslovakia. So it's only since it become a sovereign nation as Slovakia, right? So is it A, Slovakia, B, Switzerland, or C, Germany? Answer later on the show. Let that cogitate in your brain until further notice. And now let's get on with the game. First period. Okay, now let's go over this. Let's go over this whole realignment. Okay, now what we do know, it's going to be a 56 game schedule. It's going to be 4 divisions, 4 teams from each division go to the playoffs. And now they've even they've restructured, they realigned it because of COVID. We got the East Division, which has also got a sponsor now, by the way. Each division has a sponsor, the Mass Mutual East Division, which is basically the Metropolitan Division. More on that later. You got the Central Division, which is, the Discover Central Division, which is a mishmash of all the Central teams and the Florida teams. You got the West Division, which is exactly what it says on the label. It's all the West teams. And the purest of them all, the true North, strong and free, you got the North Division. Stephen, this COVID era, is this the right thing to do? Because let's face it, the Canadian border is still closed between the U.S. and Canada.
I think, yes. I mean, they made a best of a bad situation, and they wanted to get the NHL going this season. So for me, breaking up America and Canada, moving Canada into their own division has worked well. And then everything else is just pretty much geographical, where you'd expect them to be. East, as you say, is very much a metropolitan division. It's the Central and the West is kind of interesting. I mean, Colorado have moved into a different set of teams and arguably moved out of that Central division, which I think is going to benefit them. We'll get into that in more detail. Central for me is an interesting division, but I think in general, I think they've done a really good job here, and I don't think we can sit here and complain about how the divisions have been made up this time around.
Well, there was a lot of struggle for all those players last season in the playoff bubble to sort of, abide by all the rules, have 2 playoff cities. Now they're going to be roaming around, traveling around, and, but bear in mind staying on each other side of the border until further notice. But do you reckon that, will it be easier doing a regular season bubble compared to the playoff bubble?
I think it comes with its own issues. I mean, obviously, if we do start seeing some COVID issues within the relevant bubbles, and I think they're going to have another look at this. I think at the moment, this is the way it is. Is it the way we're going to finish things in the regular season? I'm not 100% convinced. I mean, we're already seeing Dallas are having to put back their start of the season. We're going to have various issues around different teams and what they're going to be able to do within their relevant bubbles. I just hope, above all else, we get hockey, we get competitive hockey, and we get this season, whatever it looks like, done and dusted so that we can actually enjoy it, a bit of a distraction for what is a really serious time in the world right now.
At the time of this recording, the Dallas Stars have announced they've had to cancel their morning skate because of some COVID positive testing, and they're amongst their camp. But let's see what happens. Let's hope this season at least starts. That's the end of the first period. Intermission. This new reverse color retro jersey. Let's talk about this. First of all, I'm wearing a Montreal Maroons jersey, just because I can. And I pretty much basically, if I be a Montreal boy and a Habs fan, I pretty much figured that had I been growing up in the 20s and 30s, the 1920s and 30s, that is, that I would be a Montreal Maroons fan instead of a Montreal Canadiens fan. The Montreal Forum was built for the Montreal Maroons, and the Montreal Canadiens were just, renting the space. And then when the Montreal Maroons went defunct in 1938, the Montreal Canadiens inherited, I know I'm going to a tangent here, of the history of Montreal hockey, but let's face it, it's a pretty damn cool jersey. Unlike the reverse retro jerseys they're introducing this season. God, they're ugly. I'm thinking of a few that actually do work, that actually don't actually look so bad. For example, I don't think the Penguins one isn't too bad, the Bruins one isn't too bad, and the Oilers one isn't too bad. It just looks like a normal jersey anyways, but there's a few ugly ones. I mean, how can you have a retro jersey with Vegas, because they're not even retro yet, I'll go on a rant about Vegas anyways later on, the Golden Knights, and the Habs reverse retro is a travesty. It shouldn't exist. What's your stance on these retro reverse jerseys?
I think it's an interesting concept. I mean, I'm a big fan of throwback jerseys, seeing those worn on various nights or over a period of time. I think that is really fun. I mean, I think sometimes, obviously with some of the newer franchises, you haven't really got much to throw back to. And I think some of them are really cool. I mean, let's start with some of the worst ones to start off with. The Islanders are just boring. They're just, I don't know what they were thinking when they could have gone back to a really interesting jersey that you either loved or hated. Dallas, really, that's one of the worst ones as well. This neon monstrosity that they've got. But then again, if you go to the other ones, I mean, you've already mentioned Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh is a clean jersey. I think it looks really nice.
It does.
But for me, and I'm not going to always come across as a biased Colorado person on this podcast, but the Colorado one is a nice throwback. It takes us back to the Nordiques. It looks really, really nice. And for me, when I first started getting into hockey in the early 90s, I was a Quebec Nordiques fan. And then they moved to Colorado. And then they got a goaltender from Montreal and then won the cup. So for me, it's a homage back to a really great time. New Jersey's another one I really like. I think that looks really, really cool. It looks a bit like a Christmas jersey, maybe.
Minnesota's got an atrocious one. But the Carolina Hurricanes are actually wearing the old Hartford Whalers logo on their shirts. But at least just wear the Whalers jersey. Don't change the color and make it ugly. I remember back in the mid 90s, they introduced some it was pretty much they should have just called it third ugly uni jersey. There was an atrocious LA Kings one that even Wayne Gretzky couldn't make look good.
Yeah.
It looked like a playing. He was like a playing card. Still, also the Anaheim Ducks when they're still Anaheim Mighty Ducks. They were still called back then when they're still owned by Disney. God, that was awful. I mean, and now they're throwing back to that again. Everyone listening, take a look at the retro jerseys and just tell me which is your favorite and which is the ugliest. Second period, the East. Should we concentrate on the East? The basically the metropolitan line with the stragglers of Buffalo and Boston joining in. Zdeno Chara leaves Boston, goes to Washington Capitals, and lo and behold, now he's going to be playing against his former team. Zdeno Chara is still the tallest NHL player to ever play the game, 6 foot whatever he is, 6'11", I think. And another news. Henrik Lundqvist, would have imagined that he would leave the New York Rangers, goes to the Washington Capitals. Unfortunately, has a heart ailment and will be undergoing heart surgery. Will miss the entire season, and we'll never see him in a Washington Capitals jersey, let alone playing against his former team, the New York Rangers. The Devils will still suck, I think, even with Lindy Ruff taking over. But however, PK Subban, now that sadly him and Lindsey Vonn are no more, they're breaking up. They're mutually up, Mike. But imagine the genetic pool if they ever had kids. So Lindsey Vonn, the Olympic skier, and PK Subban would have produced unbelievably fit children. The thing is, who do you pick to come out on top in this division?
I think this one is probably the toughest division to pick. You might want to start with Boston, but then Boston have lost a couple of key players, but they've got enough of a nucleus still there. And I think they will be one of the front runners for this division. Pittsburgh, you can never look past them. I mean, they'll go as far as Crosby and Malkin take them. But for me, I'm more interested in the New York Rangers. That's what I'm interested in, to see how they perform. They're not going to be up the top of the division, but surely we've got to be excited about a guy like Lafreniere coming into this league. A game-changing talent, one of those players that you've got to be excited about. I'm going to be watching his opening game because I'm really interested to see how he will settle into the NHL. It's a hard division to pick. You could throw the names of, say, 3 or 4 of these teams in the air, like Philadelphia, Washington, Pittsburgh, Boston. You can make a case for all of these, and you're not going to be wrong. And already you're sitting there thinking, well, I've got Stephen on the show, and he's already sitting on the fence, and he can't pick a divisional winner out of this. But I just think Pittsburgh may just have enough to get over the line in this one. And then when it comes to the playoffs, who comes out of that division is going to get really, really interesting.
My pick is, and I'm going to pick a Cinderella story here. I'm going to pick a dark horse. I'm going to say Buffalo Sabres are going to be a surprise this year. You got to think of poor Eichel. He's got nobody to play with. He's had nobody to play with. But let's think about it. They have the same ownership as the Buffalo Bills. And lo and behold, what happens? Buffalo Bills make the playoffs for the first time in the NFL in 25 years. They win their first playoff game in more than that. So you got to feel sorry for the city of Buffalo. And I've been in Buffalo many times. Let's face it, they got Erik Stahl coming in. They got Taylor Hall.
I'm a bit surprised that Taylor Hall went there. Did someone tell him he was actually going to Buffalo?
The Central Division is going to be interesting. The 2 finalists of last year's Stanley Cup now in the same division. What's that all about?
Yeah, that's something that's never happened. I mean, I'm gonna have to go back, but I can't think that would have ever been the case.
The original 6, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, Tampa Bay and Dallas gave us a really good Stanley Cup Finals. I mean, Tampa, they've kind of added one, subtracted one, because Stamkos is obviously back healthy, but they haven't got Kucherov for the whole of the regular season. Are they going to miss a beat? You've got to put, more pressure is going to be put on this team as the defending champions as well. if they could get Kucherov back for the playoffs, who knows? Nobody really knows at this point. But Tampa Bay are loaded from top to bottom. They always are. They're one of those teams. If you said to somebody who was even an average hockey fan, which one team do you think are going to be in the playoffs every year? Someone's going to say Tampa Bay because they are built the way you'd expect a team. But I think there are also some fun teams in this division as well. Carolina could be a really, really good team this year if they can get some goaltending. I think that's going to be one of their biggest issues. Nashville, I don't think they've got enough scoring. I think that's going to be one of their big issues coming into this season. Columbus are an interesting one. They, kind of make a bit of a splash in the playoffs over the last few seasons, and I just think they're another one. So again, I think you've got Tampa Bay and Dallas. I think they're playoff teams, but then I think you've got then 2 out of 3 out of Carolina, Nashville, and Columbus fighting for those over 2 positions. Florida, no. Detroit, no. Chicago, no.
That's why I think that Detroit will still suck. Chicago will suck even more this year, unfortunately, because I did like what they've done over the past decade, but I think it's that the bubble has burst, not the COVID bubble. The bubble has burst for Chicago. I think they're going to be going through a major restructuring period. Now, the thing about this division as well, and I'm going to be lambasted for this because I have a lot of friends who are Tampa Bay fans. I hate seeing the Stanley Cup go so far deep south. I know people say, "Oh, that's Canadian xenophobia." No, there's something about me seeing Lord Stanley being hoisted, where there are palm trees, where the ice never freezes, where the water never freezes over, I should say, and it's just, hey, look. There's one team in the south, in the southern belt, in the Florida area, in the hot parts of North America, that I don't mind seeing Lord Stanley being hoisted, which hasn't been done yet. Nashville has proven itself to be a proper hockey city. I'd never, when Nashville was given the awarded, to get a franchise in the NHL, it's like, what the hell? Come on, what the hell, Nashville? But they've embraced hockey big time in Nashville. This participation in hockey. So I'm going to give the kudos to Nashville, and I think they're going to be my dark horse for this year, making the playoffs out of that division. Second intermission. This second intermission within the show is going to all be about hockey overlapping into pop culture. When I mean about that, I'm going to say we're going to have, for example, Erik's hockey book of the week. And this week I'm going to pick 99 Stories by Wayne Gretzky. All right. Wayne Gretzky, who's I think everyone knows about hockey, about the game, stories of the game. I recommend it to a novice. I recommend it to the purist. I recommend it to the hardcore. 99 Stories of the Game, Wayne Gretzky. That's my book of the week. However, also it's going to be in this segment, in episodes to follow, will be hockey and movies. I mean, we could sit here all day and discuss hockey movies. Let's face it, Slapshot's going to be like, I think, the number one. There's no arguments there.
Yeah, no, Slapshot is the best movie. I mean, there is no comparison to it. I mean, you might throw out Miracle, but for me, Slapshot's still the number one movie.
So instead of arguing about hockey films, I'm going to argue about or enlighten you all about hockey references in films. For example, the Cam Neely has a cameo in Dumb and Dumber, the first one that is. And he's the trucker who beats up Jim Carrey. It's interesting seeing a Canadian beat up a Canadian on screen, a hockey player beating up a Canadian comedian. But yes, the things like that we'll be discussing ad nauseum as the season progresses. Another thing we'll do is also TV references. For example, there's hockey references in Seinfeld. There's hockey references in Friends. All to be discussed as the season ensues. This is also the part where I now going to put you on the spot, and you're going to tell me which of these three nations in the trivia answer never got a single medal in the World Junior Championships. Was it A, Slovakia, B, Switzerland, or C, Germany? Come on, Stephen. I'm not going to play any theme song that...
C, The minute you said Slovakia, I immediately thought of Czechoslovakia. And I would have known that Czechoslovakia definitely medalled, but did Slovakia, after the Iron Curtain, come down medal as well? And I think they have. So it's down to Germany and Switzerland. Switzerland have been an up-and-coming hockey nation. Could they have surprised and got a medal at the World Juniors? Possibly more than Germany. I think Germany is a team that hasn't won a medal at the World Juniors.
Final answer?
Final answer.
Well, Slovakia has won 2.
Yeah.
Switzerland has won 1. So yes, that's correct. Germany has never won a medal of any kind in the World Junior Championships. They have won in the past in other categories, but let's I'll give you the point. Yeah, I guess I don't know how we're going to do a point system as the season continues, but yes, you are correct. Germany has never got a single medal ever in the World Junior Championships. Next year, it's in Red Deal, Alberta. The year after that, it's in Russia. And the year after that, in 2024, will be in Gothenburg. Hopefully, COVID is over by then, and we can all go. So you never know. I've been to every single form of hockey known. I've been to Olympic hockey. I've been to World Championship hockey. I've been to Stanley Cup Finals. I've been to, I've even been to Spengler. But I've never done a World Junior Championship myself. But like you said, it's not easy to book a holiday because it lands smack in the middle of Christmas and New Year's, right? Yeah. So it's I think Russia might be a big ask for me to go to in that Christmas period, but let alone Red Deal, Alberta. But who knows? 2024, I'm going to try to aim for Gothenburg. I'll see you at the bar, but you're buying because it's expensive there.
It is expensive there.
Very expensive. Right, end of the intermission. Let's get into the third period now, where we are going to be discussing the West. Now, the West, every single California team in this division sucked last year. I mean, big time. St. Louis losing Peter Angelo, their captain. The talks failed in the last minute, apparently, so that the guy who helped hoist the Stanley Cup for them is now gone to Vegas. Torrey Krug comes in. Maybe will that help St. Louis bounce back from their dismal performance last year? They've lost Jake Allen. Peter Angelo goes to Vegas, and here's my rant. I hate that Vegas got a hockey franchise. It doesn't belong there. It's yeah, sure. People say, oh, but their uniform's really cool. I like the charcoal uniforms. Yeah, no, and everyone who lives in Vegas isn't from Vegas. They've already got their own hockey team, and it's just the fact that they got a franchise just gets on my nerves. And but yes, I'm gonna before I give you the floor, because this is your division, I'm gonna say my dark horse, my Cinderella story, will be San Jose. They're gonna surprise a few. Patrick Marleau's back again for the third time. And did you know he's only 44 games away from breaking Gordie Howe's record for being the most games played in the NHL? Now, in this 56-game schedule, can this 41-year-old guy actually play 44 games? I don't think so, but he'll probably finish second all time, I guess, most games played in the NHL. But I can see which team you're going to focus on in this division.
Well, I mean, as you've already mentioned, the California teams in general were bad last year, and the Kings and the Ducks are going to continue to be bad this year as well. I think let's take my team out of it just for a minute and go back to Vegas. The thing that irritated me about Vegas was how well they did as an expansion team. That's what irritated me the most about Vegas. And now all of a sudden, everyone was a Vegas fan, and thank goodness that they didn't actually win the cup, because I just don't think I could have stomached that, to be honest. They've got a good team. I mean, they're going to be one of the best teams in this division, as much as it pains me to say it. The star team in this division, you've got to say Colorado. I mean, they've added to what was a really good young nucleus. And I have talked about this for years and years and years about how teams have got to learn to play in the playoffs. They've got to get that playoff pain And I think this is a year they make the next step, because anything short of a Stanley Cup Finals for them is going to be a massive disappointment. Their top six could go against anyone in the NHL. They've got the scoring depth really across all the lines now. It's the net minding. That's what really concerns me, because Grubauer, on his day, is a number one netminder in the NHL. The trouble is, at times, he can lose games which they really are going to need to win. So I think the regular season, they'll be fine. They're in a weak division, in my opinion. But come the playoffs, can Grubauer carry this team to the cup? And I look at this team and I look back at what happened 25 years ago and think that team then needed a netminder. That team then needed a number one to come in and be that guy, because they had so much offensive talent on that team in 95, 96. Same team in a way with McKinnon, Landeskog, Rantanen. Do they keep them guys together? That's a big key. How much they play those three guys together. And I think that's going to decide a hell of a lot as well.
Now let's go to the other division, the North, the true North.
Your division.
Now the thing, but I'm on the. It doesn't guarantee that there'll be a Canadian team in the final.
No.
And I know everybody who's non-Canadian goes, there hasn't been a Canadian team as one since '93. yeah. I also I interject. Yeah, how many Canadians are in each team that's won the Stanley Cup since '93, anyways, right? So it's just like Canada wins a cup, anyways. Yeah, sorry, that's Canadian xenophobia. Never mind. Well, here we go. The Leafs. They won't suck, but they won't be good. They got old man ZZ Topbeard, Joe Thornton, who's joined them. Definite Hall of Famer, that's for sure. Is he the solution for the Toronto Woes, who have never been to a final since 1967, before the man landed on the moon? The Ottawa Senators, the young, they're developing. They'll still suck. So they're not. Sorry, Ottawa. You're not going to do anything again this year. We're going to look at the Edmonton Oilers and McDavid. They got to, how many times does Edmonton need first round draft picks and not get anywhere? This has got to be their year. I'm going to go my Montreal Rant now. I feel like George Costanza when he meets George Steinbrenner. If I ever to meet Marc Bergevin again, saying you've brought distress to the city of Montreal. You've turned this hallowed hockey team into a laughing stock in the league. But hey, we got Jake Allen, which is very controversial because for St. Louis to let him go. Talk about having a very good backup goalie for Carey Price. And by the way, it'd be a travesty if Carey Price retires and never wins the cup. And here's the thing is with Montreal as well. If Carey Price retires and never wins the cup, I don't think they'll retire his number, even though he's got the record for most wins, and for the Montreal Canadiens, that is. He's surpassed Patrick Roy, and that's how finicky Montreal fans are, because they you need to win the cup. Saku Koivu won't get his number retired. Carey Price won't get retired. He needs to hoist the cup to earn that accolade. However, it's been since '93 that we haven't won anything, and Montreal fans can't be finicky anymore. And I can go on and on and on, but Nick Suzuki needs to step up. We've lost Max Domi. Montreal will make the playoffs, only just. And I know we shouldn't have made the playoffs last year at all because of what they did with the qualifiers and all that. We show that Montreal can actually play with the big boys, because we used to be big.
I'm not so sure you will make the playoffs. Edmonton, Toronto, definite playoff teams. Edmonton finally should start to make some noise. I got tired of seeing McDavid being eligible to play in the World Championships, what seems like every single season. I don't want Toronto to win. I know too many people that are Toronto Maple Leaf fans, and they just really just give it to me anytime the Maple Leafs have a 2-game winning streak. I just cannot. have that any longer. I think Calgary are a good regular season team. In the playoffs, they should do better. But for whatever reason, they don't do the job when it comes to playoff time. And I just think, what happens with them when the regular season ends, they need to figure that out, because otherwise they're just not going to be able to take that next step. But I do think they'll be a playoff team. I think the Winnipeg Jets will be the other one. I think they're just going to have enough to beat out Montreal for that final spot. But hey, having the way things are now, at least we're going to have a Canadian team in the Final Four.
Yes,
you've got to be happy. You've got to be happy with that. You might not go any further, but at least you'll have a Canadian team in the Final Four. I'll put my neck on the line and say Edmonton to win the division.
Okay, all right. The Canucks were surprised last year. But their goaltending the wheels fell off. But yeah, I can't believe I'm saying Montreal's a dark horse when they should be the favorite. Should be the favorite every year. There we go. Time will tell on who wins the North.
When we look at what's coming up, I think 2 games stick out for me in the first week of the season. I've already mentioned it, the Islanders Rangers. I think that's going to be a fun game to watch. Rangers could be one of those teams you want to look at, a new star in the league, watch some Rangers games maybe you can. And we have Dallas against Tampa Bay in the first week of the season as well, which is going to be a really fun Stanley Cup rematch. I didn't think Dallas were good enough to get to the Stanley Cup finals last year. That may be me still smarting a bit from the fact that Colorado didn't get there, but I think that'll be an interesting game from the very first week of the season.
Yeah, obviously I'm going to pick Montreal-Toronto as the game to watch out for this week. Every game is going to be Battle of Canada. I'm going to have Battle of Alberta more than once a month kind of thing. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. And let's see. Now we're going to here's the thing about this show. We want you to follow. We got Twitter, we got Instagram, we got all those other, I don't know what else. I'm a Luddite when it comes to this. Like I said, I used to be one of those kind of guys that used to be, no, television is king. I'm a broadcast god. Podcasts are so beneath me. And yet here I am.
Here we are.
Yes. But hey, it will be a fun podcast this season. We're going to have other guests. We're going to have former hockey players. We're going to have Russell Chamberlain from the old Channel 5 days. It's not just us ugly mugs the entire season. Don't despair. You've been listening to Slapshot Smack Talk, and don't forget to follow us on all those social handles, Slapshot Smack Talk, and all those hashtags and ats and handles. You know what to do. Join us next week when we discuss what happened the first week of the